Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, primetime NFL. Let's talk about it. Let's talk Ravens with Yolanda. Today's video, we are going to discuss each player that makes up the offensive line. Good evening, Ravens flock. How is everyone doing on this Thursday night? I hope everyone is doing great. We have a prime time football game to preview between the Baltimore Ravens and the LA Chargers. Harbaugh versus Harbaugh. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. Let's talk all things this matchup. Ravens are in desperate need of a win after last week's unnecessary and, might I say, embarrassing loss to the Steelers. The Ravens are now 7-4, and they have some things to figure out. Meanwhile, the Chargers are on a roll. They've won the last 4 of games, and one of which included a win against the Browns, who we could not beat. And the other game was another one of their wins came against the Bengals, who we barely scraped out that win. And the Ravens are currently the 6th seed in the AFC, and the Chargers are the 5th seed in the AFC. So this game has a lot of implications. Let's, I'll share my thoughts. I want to hear from you. Tell me what you are thinking about this game. The Chargers are, as I mentioned, they're 7-3. They've had their bye. We know that the Ravens have not. We don't have a bye until another couple more weeks. So let's start with the injuries. For the Ravens, starting with Roquan Smith, we know that he has been dealing with a hamstring injury since last week against the Steelers, and that's going to hurt if he doesn't play. Now, it's still very early. Today is Thursday. Game is not until Monday. So some of the players that I mentioned here on both sides, on both teams, might really be game day decision or game time decisions. So we'll just have to monitor it over the next couple of days. But Roquan Smith, we know that he leads our team in tackles, and protection of the middle of the field has not been that great, but imagine what it's going to be without Roquan if he does not play, if they decide to sit him. Another key player who I wonder how it's going to be without him, defensive tackle Travis Jones. Travis Jones, we know, has an ankle injury, and he tried, I think he's just kind of been trying to get back in the game, but with an ankle injury of that sort, it's not going to get any worse if you just it's not going to get any better if you just rush him back to the field. So he might sit out this game. What does that mean for our interior D-line? Well, we've been great at stopping the run, and we'll talk about our defense in just a bit. But it means that, next man up. I don't know another way to say it, but that's what it really means. It means next man up. And if we don't have Travis Jones, okay, we'll see. We'll see what we're going to have to do there in terms of our ability to stop the run. Another couple of defensive players that have made their way to the Ravens injury report. Sanusi Kane at safety, although we really haven't seen him play many snaps at safety. We have seen Sanusi Kane play some in special teams, but not a whole lot. And cornerback Arthur Maulet. Now, some people were really high on Arthur Maulet and some not so much, but no matter what, he's come in, he's been okay. Not great, but he's been okay. Another name that landed on the injury list, moving on to our offense, is Nelson Agholor. Not really sure what's going on with Nelson. And if you happen to be watching now or you're watching this on replay, leave a comment. Let me know if you know what's his injury designation. I just saw that he made his way to the injury list. So those are a few players that we'll see if they actually, suit up on Monday night. For the Chargers, I almost bit my tongue just then. For the Chargers, same thing. They have a couple of, players who are listed as questionable right now. And I think probably the biggest name is linebacker Khalil Mack. If he does not play, that's huge for the Chargers. He has right now 4.5 sacks. He's, very aggressive and can get out. He's demonstrated he can get after the quarterback. So we'll see what happens with Khalil. But two other players that are listed as questionable: cornerback Cam Hart and linebacker Denzel Perryman. We will keep an eye on that to see if those players actually are ready for game day. Speaking of this matchup, thinking about it, the Chargers are not a team that I really watch per se too often or really keep track of. But obviously, because we're playing them on Monday night, I need to kind of know who they are, what we can expect. So where do I start? Let's start with our offense, the Ravens. What can I say about this team? What can I say about our offense? I will quickly revisit last week's game on offense versus the Steelers, which, by the way, was absolutely abysmal. They found a way to just continuously shoot themselves in the foot. They just couldn't catch a break. Like last week against the Steelers, the Ravens generously, collected 12 penalties for 80 yards. We still, after, going into week 12, we are still the most penalized team in the league. That to me is directly related to coaching. It shows that we're undisciplined and we're just not well prepared. And, when we continue to get these penalties, it's resulting in it's resulting in negating the positive plays, loss of yards, creating third and long, down and distant type situations. And it's just making it almost insurmountable for the Ravens offense to get into rhythm and get any momentum going. So that's kind of one thing that stood out to me. Obviously, we need to be better prepared going into this next game. I'm hoping to limit the penalties. That would be great. If we can find a way to move that needle in the opposite direction, that would be fantastic, because that's what we need. We cannot continue to go week after week having all of these penalties and yet expect to win. The Chargers right now, as I told you, they are the 5th seed. This is a team, and they have a pretty good defense. They're ranked number 10 in terms of pass and rush defense. Isn't that nice? Wow, that's really nice to have a team that is both equal in pass defense and rush defense, because we know the Baltimore Ravens, we're really good against stopping the run, but when it comes to defending the pass, we're bottom of the league. But anyway, so one thing last week, and then I'll move on to what we need to do this upcoming week. The O-line's weaknesses were on full display. It just was. And, going up against a top tier D-line, we can expect that to happen. And to add insult to injury, our ball handlers were dropping passes and fumbling the ball. Those are really detrimental to us in terms of building momentum, trying to get this team, this offense flying, and putting this all on Lamar Jackson's back. For him to carry the load is unacceptable and it's unfair. He can only do so much. Now, Lamar Jackson had some passes last week where he overthrew and he missed his targets. Absolutely. We have to clean those types of mistakes up. But this was an all-around effort. So what does that mean for us coming up against the Chargers? Well, I took a look at the Chargers in terms of their, defensive stats. This is a team who's proven that they can get after the quarterback. And through 10 games that they have played, because as I mentioned, they've already had their bye, they have 34 sacks and 47 tackles for loss. Linebacker, watch out for him. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but his first name is Tuli. Last name begins with a T. I'm going to call him Tuli T. Right? He's something. He's doing really good. He has 7 sacks already. 7. And yes, please make sure that you protect Lamar Jackson. Our offensive line has to protect Lamar Jackson at all costs. And as I mentioned, Khalil Mack has 4.5 sacks. He's listed as questionable, but we also have defensive end Morgan Fox, who has 3.5 sacks. Linebacker Bosa has 3. This team is not afraid to get to the quarterback and put that quarterback on the ground, which is what we do not want to see for Lamar Jackson moving into this game. So no sacks would be great. And even better, no QB hits. We're starting to get toward the latter half of the season, down the stretch, and wear and tear on the body is starting to add up. We know in the past few weeks, Lamar Jackson has been dealing with a, back and knee soreness issue, not an injury, but just trying to nurse it and make sure that his body stays healthy. The way you do that is to keep him upright. But that also means that he has to get the ball out quickly. He's got to be able to take what the defense gives him. As I mentioned, this is a top 10 defense. They are number 10 in both pass defense and run defense. So whether we decide we want to pass or run, we have to have a solid game plan. That means, Todd Monken, you have got to call an excellent game, because over on the opposite side, calling the offensive plays for the Chargers is a familiar, I'm going to call him foe at this point, because hey, you're an enemy at this point. We have Greg Roman. So you need to make sure that you scheme up this team so well that it can combat this top 10 defense. I think it starts with leaving Derrick Henry on the field. The Ravens have demonstrated time and time again that they are not afraid to take Derrick Henry off the field at inappropriate times. We could spend all day and all afternoon and all evening talking about how the 2-point conversion, where was Derrick Henry last week? We can't make heads or tails of it. This week, we should not walk away scratching our heads as to what was that? What type of play calling is this? We need to have something better. It seemed like last week, the Ravens took a step back in terms of the offense that had been doing amazing, had been doing excellent. But seeing as how they flip-flopped, right, from the last few weeks to doing great, being able to put points on the board, positive yards, positive plays, moving the chains, to last week, it was like a shell of themselves. That inconsistency it kind of like, I don't want to say it kind of douses my confidence and hope in this team, because I still do believe that we are a very good team and we can go all the way this year, but we have to clean up some of the mistakes. And some of it is coaching and some of it is execution. Both of those have to be better this week on offense for us to get up to end with a win. And as I mentioned earlier, limit the penalties. That's huge for us. That is really, really bad. So, we don't give ourselves an opportunity or a fighting chance to win this game if every time we're going 3 and out. Why? Because we have so many penalties that just move us back. We don't give ourselves a chance, an opportunity to go out there and be great if we're stacking penalty upon penalty. That's not going to work. That's not going to get it done. So, in terms of the rushing, in terms of our ability to rush the ball this game, the Chargers only allow 4.7 yards per carry and have only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns. That's it. This is a good team. But that means to me, if early on they are able to stop the run or limit Derrick Henry, don't take him out of the game. Continue to keep him in the game. And not only him, use Justice Hill. And let's not forget, we have Keaton Mitchell back. I know that he's coming off of a major injury, but it's been 2 weeks now that Keaton Mitchell has been active. So give him some of the workload, not a lot, because you want to ease him back into, real-time game play, but give him some carries, right? He should be able to have some stats at the end of this game and not just on special teams. Or, so however we want to use Keaton Mitchell, we certainly need to incorporate him into our play calling for our running, for our rushing yards. He needs to have a contribution. So I'm going to take a couple of seconds real quick to say hello to those who've joined in the chat. A huge shout out to my mom. Good evening, Mom. She is one of my channel members. Thank you for being here. Good evening, Tanja, moderator Tanja. Thank you for being here. Good evening. Yes, another one of my channel members, David Hunt. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're live. We are live. Good evening. Tanja says, yes, familiarity is scary. Yeah, it is. It is. But I don't want us to get scared, because when we get scared or nervous, it just shows. And it's like, who are these Baltimore Ravens who are coming out here with their tails tucked and they're just not like, I want to come out there and dominate. You know, it's Monday Night Football. Ravens, don't embarrass me. Everybody's watching. So let's take what happened last week, figure out what we did wrong. And I already articulated some of the things that we need to work on. But this game right here, this is a lot. This is huge. For me, an AFC, we don't need to lose any more games, period. But we certainly don't need to lose any against an AFC team. We don't, because we do not want to continue to slip down and then find ourselves fighting to even make it into the play. I don't want to even have that conversation, so I'm not. But also, Justin Lewis, good evening. Thank you for being here. Yes, he said we have to clean up those penalties and not beat ourselves. That's it. That's it. But if we don't do that, our chances and our likelihood of winning, decreases, because this is a very good team. They're not sitting in the 5th seed for nothing. They didn't just get to the 5th seed because of, by accident. And I know some people will say, well, it depends on who their opponents are, and maybe they're playing lesser opponents. And that is something to consider. It's definitely a factor, but you can only play the teams who are in front of you. Right? You can really only play the teams that are set before you. So with that said, let's be mindful that our pass catchers, Zay Flowers had a relatively quiet game last week. He had 2 receptions for 39 yards. And then he also had some drops. We know Derrick Henry, and he was visibly upset with himself. The minute we get on the field, I think it was the second down in the game, Derrick Henry fumbles. He fumbles. And I know that probably weighed heavily on him, but we need to secure the ball. If you are a running back or whoever you are carrying the ball, you need to know how to secure the ball. And I'm hoping, because he wasn't the only one who fumbled last week. So I hope that they incorporated, they being the coaching staff, I hope they incorporated some drills on proper technique and form and how to carry the ball. I know this sounds very basic, and so don't come at me and say, Yolanda, they don't do that. They didn't know, this is the NFL. These are grown men. They know how to carry the ball. Well, if they did, we wouldn't have these fumbles. So sometimes you just have to take it back to the basics. And I wouldn't be mad if they spent some time this week going through that. But so our pass catchers need to be there. And again, I mentioned Nelson Aguilar. Not sure what's going on with him. Not sure if he's going to be available. Rashad Bateman. This is someone who we've seen have really good games, but then we've also seen him drop crucial catches in very big moments. So the up and down that I've mentioned about our team going into week 12, we should now start to see some stability moving forward in an upward trajectory, right? Because we know that Lamar has always, he always says, you don't want to peak too soon. You don't want to, come out too soon. You want to have it just right. And yes, as we are starting to near the end of the line for us in terms of games, because we have 7 games left? I'm sorry, it's not even 7, because we're going into week 12. We have 6 games or 6 weeks left, because we have week 18, through week 18. So we don't have much more time on the clock for us. And we get our bye week after the Eagles, I think. So it's next week, this upcoming week, we play the Chargers, and then the following week, the Eagles. And then we finally get our bye. And that's it. So at this point, we need to see some stability moving forward in our offense. And that's what I'm looking for. The Chargers have some good playmakers. They do. In terms of their linebackers, they've got Dayan Henley, linebacker Denzel Perryman. They also have safety Derwin James. These are men who can shut it down. They can shut it down. So if our run game is not as effective as we would like, do not take Derrick Henry off the field, number one, but make sure that our pass catchers are put in positions where they have been schemed open. They're ready to catch the ball, and they can, because they've practiced that this week, right? They practice not dropping passes. So that's something that our Ravens are going to absolutely have to do against this defense. There you go. That's what I have to say about it. Let me hear from you. Let me take a couple of comments real quick from those who are in the chat. Feel free, weigh in. What do you think we need to see on offense in order to have a fighting chance at winning this game against a top 10 defense like the Chargers, especially, right, from what you saw last week from our offense? What do you need to see? Let me know. Justin Lewis says, yeah, we got to show fearlessness, leadership to win games. We do. We have to go out there and be prepared. But not only that, be confident in it. Stand firm. Don't cower to these teams. Even if we find ourselves down at first and we're coming back from behind, remember who you are. You are the Baltimore Ravens. Don't go in there timid. Don't do it. Rod Wave, good evening. Thanks for being here. Chargers are a well-coached team and a good defense. That's right. We haven't gotten into coaching. I saved that for the end, but this is a good defense. As I mentioned earlier, Rod, this is a top 10 defense in both pass and rushing. So we need to have a game plan, especially on offense, because last week we did not look good. We looked bad, horrible. Jonathan, thank you for joining. Yeah, what's happening? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. And I see Justin says, we cannot allow teams like the Steelers and Chiefs to continue to get under our skin. They have our number. And unless and until we decide, right, that we are not going to cower to them and not be afraid, and we're not going to be timid around them, and we're going to go out there and show them that, listen, we can win against you too. We have a good squad too. Unless and until we have that mindset really going in there, then, yeah, that's why we're on the other side of the L column against those teams. Big Reg, good evening. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Tanja says, I need to see less penalties. Our receivers holding onto the ball. Seems to me when we play aggressive DBs, they get the drops. And this is not a time for us to have the drops. This is an aggressive DB team. This team has a lot of good playmakers on both sides. This is a very good team. And as Rod Wave said, and we'll talk about coaching in just a bit, this is a very, very well-coached team. And from Jim Harbaugh, we got to give it to him. Got to give him his credit. He's got his team positioned in the 5th seed. So that's what I have for, and I agree with you, Tanja, 100%. Absolutely right. And our running backs do not fumble the ball. Please maintain ball security is very important. It's crucial. Limit those penalties, and I think we'll be okay. I think because we have Lamar Jackson, I think we will be okay against this very good defense. And before we move on to the defense, the Ravens defense going up against this Chargers offense, I want to tell you, thank you all so much for being here. If you have not already, if you would do me a favor and hit the like button if you are enjoying the enjoying the content. Look at me talking too fast. If you are enjoying the content, please make sure to hit the like button. And if you are new, welcome. Please subscribe, join the family, turn on your post notifications so that you never miss content released on this channel. Speaking of content, during the month of December, I am doing a challenge myself on my channel and Hendo on his channel, where we will produce daily Ravens content for 31 days for the month of December. We're going to get you through the holidays, through the entire month of December, talking Ravens football. The content that I'm going to create is more of like taking it back to the basics, but not necessarily 101, because I did a football 101 series last offseason. This is more building on what I discussed last year in the 101 series. So now we're talking football 201. We're talking schemes, strategy. What is play action? Why does it work? Why does it work for us? And I'm getting a focus on each day. I'll have a different, I'll do like offense one day, defense one day. And I will structure the content around why this works or what the Ravens need to do to make this work, or this particular scheme or this particular style of play work. So it'll be fun. And you get to come along with me on the journey as we learn a little bit more about these football terms that we throw around here, like what is cover two and what's a blitz and this and that. We're going to talk all about that in this month of December. And I will invite you to leave a comment in my community tab where I will put a post up telling you what the video will be about for the upcoming day. You weigh in. If there's anything that you want me to say or anything you want me to include, let me know and I will definitely do it. Now, let's get back to this upcoming game. Ravens defense. If there is such a thing as a silver lining, I will say it has to be our defense. We finally woke up. In the Steelers game, it wasn't enough for us to win the game, but our defense was able to limit the Steelers to field goals only. Talk about our red zone defense. Amazing. We did not allow them to get into the end zone. Like I said, it wasn't enough for us to win. But in terms of what we did right, we were able to finally see some progression and some improvement in our defense, which really had been underwhelming thus far. So let's start with the Chargers. Their offense, as I mentioned earlier, they are led by Greg Roman, familiar foe. We used to be, former offensive coordinator for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson even mentioned, it was a weird question today asked at the presser, said, when you think of Greg Roman, what are your thoughts? Lamar kind of gave him that like deer in a headlight look, like, dude, what do you want me to say? How do you expect me to answer that? He's like, it was fine. I won my first league MVP under Greg Roman. Yeah, but anyway, so said all that to say, we know we're familiar with Greg Roman. And it's going to be interesting to see how he schemes his team, his offense, going against our defense. And heading into week 12, Justin Herbert has started all of the games, all 10 games for his team. His passing stats so far, 176 out of 277 attempts. He has 2,186 passing yards. So he's doing good. He's doing very good. And 13 passing touchdowns with only one interception. Now, in terms of this offense, in terms of the Chargers, one thing I know about Justin Herbert, he is one who can extend the plays. He can scramble. He can run. He can do that. If the play is not developing the way he would like it to, don't worry. He's going to take off. He's going to figure out a way to extend the plays. Similar to a Lamar Jackson. I did not say he was on the same page or the same scale as Lamar. I don't think you can compare the two. But what I am saying, this is a quarterback who our defense, and especially because we're really going to, again, I'm not going to say going to be without, we might be without a couple of our key defensive players, as I mentioned earlier in the live stream about our injuries, especially with defensive tackle Travis Jones and Roquan Smith. This is a player who we're really going to have to watch. We're going to have to be able to utilize our edge rushers to get him uncomfortable and put his tail on the ground. Yes, that's right. Put his tail, his rump on the ground. Justin Herbert there's no other way, because this is a team. If you give them time, if you give him time in the pocket, he's going to make a throw. His receivers are going to get open, and so goes this game. So I expect that this team will try to pass the ball quite a bit, because they are a mix. So I wanted to know kind of like what their tendency was. What is the tendency of this particular offense? They're pretty much balanced. They have a very good passing game, and they also have a very good run game. We know that former Ravens, there are like a few former Ravens over there. J.K. Dobbins, this is the first time that he's going up against his former team. You've got Gus Edwards to a lesser degree. I was looking at the stats earlier. Gus Edwards really hasn't been very impactful, but still, you never know. They might incorporate him some, just because obviously he's a former Raven. And chat, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think Bradley Bozeman is there as well. Former center for the Ravens. I'm pretty sure Bradley Bozeman is over there too. So you've got the offensive coordinator from the Ravens, former offensive coordinator, and you've got a handful of players over there. These people are familiar with John Harbaugh. They're familiar with how we run this team. And so it's going to be really interesting. It's going to make for a really good game. I do expect there to be quite a bit of passing yards. And if our secondary is able to defend the defensive backfield like they did last week against the Steelers, we will be able to give the Chargers a fit. Now, I think our run defense may take a small step backward if we are without defensive tackle Travis Jones and if we are without Roquan Smith. Hopefully they can play, but let's not rush them if they need the rest. If they need the rest, I'd rather have them down the stretch and certainly into the playoffs. And thank you, Tanja. Yes, she confirmed Bradley Bozeman is there. Yeah, good. I thought so. So thank you for confirming that. Yeah. Oh, Sean Coles is here. I got to say hello to Sean Coles, one of my amazing channel members. Thank you for being here. He said he likes Herbert. I do too. I don't have any problems with Justin Herbert. I don't. If you would like to become a channel member as well, there is a link in the description that says join. And if you click on the button join, it gives you the 3 different tiers where you can support the channel and what I'm doing here at Ravens Talk with Yolanda. But going back to this game, I do think they have one incredible talent. Wide receiver, rookie, Ladd McConkey. I hope I said McConkey right. Yeah, I think I said it right. He leads the Chargers with 43 receptions, and he has 615 yards. I didn't say this earlier about Zay Flowers. Shout out to Zay Flowers for being in the top 5. He's number 5 in terms of NFL wide receivers and passing yard receptions. He is on the list. Who would have thought that one of the Baltimore Ravens wide receivers would make such a list? But here we are. So let me get back. So I wanted to at least, I had that in my notes, but I didn't cover it earlier. So I wanted to at least make sure I recognize the fact that Zay Flowers is doing big things. Have a good game for us, Zay. We need you. Tre'Davious White. He's played a handful of snaps for the Chargers, but he's, so like, I'm sorry for the Ravens, but he made a couple of very big pass breakups, and that has been great. I think he's earned his way to making, making a start perhaps, or at least at a very bare minimum, Tre'Davious White should have more snaps because we know that this offense is very good and our secondary can use the help. Someone said in one of my earlier videos, and let me know in the chat if you would be agreeable to this. Someone said in an earlier live stream or video, start Tre'Davious White over Brandon Stephens. Let me hear from you. Yes, Justin Lewis. Shout out to Derrick Henry. Yeah. Shout out to him too, breaking all types of records. Shout out to Lamar doing the same thing, breaking all types of records. We're doing great. We just need to get back into what we were doing before last week on offense. But how would you feel about Tre'Davious starting over Brandon Stephens, lining him up and, against, like I said, they've got this awesome talent rookie, Ladd McConkey. He's doing very good. So we have to have an answer for him. And our secondary has to be on point against this very good passing team. The middle of the field has to be protected. It has to be defended. And the defensive backfield, without question. No such thing as, oh, he didn't turn his head in time. Oh, he wasn't anywhere near his receiver. Coverage has to be there. I'm already a little bit nervous with Malik Harrison, maybe possibly having to step up and step in for Roquan Smith. So if that be true, everybody else, you're going to have to step up double time, right? So just something to think about, just something to see. Yeah, I'm seeing the comments come in. Yeah, Trey would be better than Brandon Stephens. I mean, let's give it a whirl. I think he's at least earned more playing time, if not a starting role. But we'll see how the Ravens want to do. And Justin Lewis agrees. Like, yeah, I'd rather see Trey start than Stephens. Yeah. So we need to continue to dominate this team. We need to continue to dominate the run game because this is a team, as we know, J.K. Dobbins. We don't want him to have a revenge game, like, hey, I'm playing my former team. Let me just go off type game, right? We need to make sure that we're ready for that. So let's be dominant in our ability to stop the run. And certainly slow down their wide receivers, their speedy wide receivers, slow them down. Make sure that we do not give the Chargers quarterback, make sure we do not give Herbert too much time because he's shown the league that he can get the job done with just a little bit of time. So I need a big game from my guy, Odafe Oweh. Shout out to Odafe Oweh. No one said it in the chat. I'm going to say it for myself. Shout out to Odafe Oweh. Last week, 2.5 sacks, almost should have had 3.5, but for the penalty, he is now tied with Kyle Van Noy leading our team. The two of them, both respectively, have 7 sacks for the season. I didn't know I'd be here saying Odafe Oweh, but his name, he was just on fire last week against the Steelers. We need to see more of that, especially this week if we are down a couple of our starting defensive players. That's really it. Defense, I need them to generate turnovers. I need the defense to be able to generate turnovers. And when they do, when the defense, because I'm calling it right now, let me know in the chat who's getting a pick six. Who is getting a pick six this game for the Ravens? Who's getting it? I'm going to say, the obvious would be Marlon Humphrey, right? That would be the obvious. But I don't know if we can get Nate Wiggins in the game to get a pick six, because he had a couple of interceptions earlier in the season. I think it was like one game he had like 3 of them, just dropped all 3. If we can get an interception by Nate Wiggins, that'd be great. Yeah. Marlon or Kyle. You know what? Let's go with Kyle. Let's do that. There you go. I like it, Tanja. Certainly Marlon or Kyle. We're calling it now. Come back for the post-game show. Myself and Hendo will be live streaming the game in its entirety Monday night. And afterward, we will come here. I know it's going to be late. It's going to be early in the morning, Tuesday morning, the wee hours of the morning. We will do our post-game recap. So come back here so that you can see that myself and Tanja were right. It was either Marlon or Marlon or Kyle who get the pick six, or at least get the interception. But offense, when the defense is able to do that for you, when they gift you a turnover, don't beat yourselves in the foot. Don't shoot yourselves in the foot with penalties and going 3 and out. Capitalize on the moment. Get a lead early. Keep the lead. And defense, be able to defend the lead. That is the formula. I will say one other thing about special teams before we go into coaching. Special teams. If you were to have asked me at the start of this offseason, during the offseason, or even, like right before the season began, would you have any concerns about Justin Tucker? I would say, no, I don't have any. I think, we're going to be solid. He's going to continue to perform the way he has all of these years, right? Well, here we are. And we've had the conversation about Justin Tucker. And one thing that John Harbaugh said earlier this week was, despite recognizing Justin Tucker's struggles, he's not looking to bring anyone in to replace him. So it's one of those scenarios where we're going to roll with our guys. There you go. We're rolling with who we have. We have Justin. I believe in him. I have all confidence in him that he can get it right. We also heard from a presser from Justin Tucker himself, where he said, hey, I recognize the error. I'm kicking the ball wide left. It's a simple fix. Don't do that. And I thought, okay, well, if it was a simple fix, then certainly you wouldn't have missed those field goals with plural S field goals last week. You would have maybe missed the one, but made the other. So we will see if this is something that is a, quote, easy fix, because Justin Tucker seems to believe it is. He's like, oh yeah, it's, I can fix that. No problem. Okay. Well, this will be the game where we will see. I don't think that this game is going to come down to a field goal. At least I hope it doesn't. I certainly hope it doesn't. But nevertheless, We need to see Tucker. He said he's been practicing this week in terms of trying to make it to where the ball does not go wide left. He said he's been focusing on that. I want to see it this upcoming game. Do not miss field goals. If that be the case, do not miss extra points. We need every single point. The game we lost last week was by 2. 2. Every point matters. So, Justin Tucker, all eyes are on you. We're watching. Last thing before I go, and because I know football is on in a few minutes, and it's not just one division rival, it's 2. I just say I vote for both of them lose. That's what I want. I want the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. I want both of them to lose. But if I had to go with one, I would choose the Browns to win because I just need the Steelers to not win any more games right now. That might sound bad, but hey, I said what I said. Coaching. As the thumbnail indicated, this game is going to certainly be about execution, and we've covered that. We've talked about what the receivers and the players need to do, but this game comes down to coaching as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you are watching on replay, thank you. Leave a comment. Who do you think will emerge as the better coach this game? I see you, Jeff J. I see you. I didn't say hello earlier, but I know Jeff J will come for John Harbaugh, and he keeps it 100%. And I appreciate that from him. And I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing just fine. But who do you think will emerge as the better coach between Jim and John Harbaugh? On the one hand, you have John Harbaugh, who has 17 years of NFL head coaching experience. And on the other hand, you have brother Jim, who had NFL coaching experience. The two brothers met during the Super Bowl. John Harbaugh was victorious. Jim Harbaugh then later on became the coach for University of Michigan. So he left the NFL and now he's back, right? I don't know. You would think that after 17 years of coaching, John Harbaugh would be more experienced in leading our team, i.e., we wouldn't see as many penalties, the challenge blunders, all of those things that we see, game clock management, all of those things that we see from John Harbaugh on a week-to-week basis that we're like, what is he doing? Lack of holding his staff and by staff, I mean his coaches accountable for when they mess up. He's starting to do that. And I think he took some accountability this week when they talked about the penalties, and he said, that stops with me, it stops right here. So there was some level of accountability this week. We'll see how it translates on the field. To answer your question, Living Legend, thank you for being here. Justin Lewis says, John will be 3-0 this Monday. Okay. All right. Yeah, Tanja said, let's go Browns. Look, I don't ever want to say those words, but tonight I do because I don't want the Steelers to win. Let us have a chance to make it back up to, well, I can't say make it back up to the top of the AFC because we really were never at the top, but let us have a chance, right? So yeah, come on Browns, get it done tonight, please, please. And what are the Browns? 2 and whatever? Figure out a way, Browns, figure out a way. But Living Legend said, Harbs will emerge as the better coach. Which one? Which Harbaugh? I see the wink. I see the wink. I get you. I get where you're going with that. But which one do you think? Jim or John? I'm going to go with, while I think Jim Harbaugh is going to he's going to have that team well coached, I do. We just have a way of winning despite John Harbaugh. And a lot of that is because of our quarterback, because he's so good. He masks so many deficiencies on this team because he's able to put up so many points. At the end of the day, I think the Ravens will, now see, I'm about to tell you we're going to get into score predictions in a minute, but let me tie all this in. While I'm talking, running my mouth here, Living Legend laughed at me. Well, that was fun. That was cute. He's like, I think Harbs is going to win. Well, which one? You got 2 of them, but that's cute. Leave a comment down below. Let me know score prediction. Type fast. It's 8:15 and the game is about to start. Let me know who you think is going to win the game. Ravens, Chargers. I'm going to give you my score prediction and then circle back to who I think is going to be the better coach. My score prediction for this game, as I said before, I do not believe that this game will come down to a field goal. I certainly hope and pray it does not. I think the Ravens are going to be able to go in there to LA, travel on the road, prime time in all white unis, and grab the dub. 35-28 Ravens. I think this is a game where the offense gets right. They figure it out. As I said earlier in the stream, there's a lot to figure out. That was part of the figuring out. Justin Tucker is also another part of the figuring things out. But I think the Ravens can get right. But although the defense might take a small step back from what we saw last week, primarily because players might not be available to play because of, they might have to sit them out for the day, I still think we're able to win the game. I do. So, Killer Cam, Killer Cam, I was thinking about you last night. I just really appreciate every time you go into LBHT's show, you say, "Hola, Jose. Mucho gusto, Bradney." It is so fun. Every time I see it, it always brings a smile to my face. So make sure you keep doing that. I like to see that. But yes. All right. Killer Cam says he's taking the Ravens. All right. Let me see some of these comments that are rolling in. Okay. Killer Cam says he's taking the Ravens. David Hunt says 28-17. I like how you think, David Hunt. I like how you think. Yes, that's right. I love it. Living Legend said that Jim is a better coach. Lamar is the better QB. I could not have said it better. Thank you, Living Legend. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like we are going to win. And although we're going to win, it's not necessarily because of John Harbaugh, but because of Lamar. So, and how do we know that that's what it's going to be? Because we'll see the penalties. We'll continue to see the blunders. We'll continue to see the mismanagement. I don't think that that's going away. Justin Lewis, 27-18. Who are you taking, Justin? Let me know. 27-18. Who wins? Who wins? That's right, Tanja. Let's go, Ravens. Get it done. Go in there. Remember who you are. Forget what happened to the Steelers. Well, maybe not forget it. Use it as, fuel, right? To propel you to go in there and get the job done. Don't leave without that win. And don't embarrass me on Monday night, Ravens. Don't embarrass me because I've run my mouth a little too much this week. Justin Lewis says, okay, 34-24 Ravens. You changed it. Okay. I don't know. I think they have an ability to score. They do. So that's why I gave them 28, but we'll see. Yes, David. Exactly. Keep Derrick Henry on the field. Don't do that. Don't take him off the field. Like, that's just silly to me. It doesn't make any sense. Ugh, it's so frustrating. Living Legend, 27-20. I like it. 27-20 Ravens. All right, Flock Nation. Well, thank you for joining tonight's show and chatting it up with me. Make sure you come back on Monday night. Hendo and myself will live stream the game. And then afterward, we will give you our post-game instant reaction to what I believe, and I'm calling it now, I'm speaking it right now, is going to be a victory for us. Get right game, because we need it. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you very soon. Until next time, you take care and stay safe. And always remember, go Ravens. God bless.